So I remember because I was working for NBC when that happened.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And oh my God, I couldn't imagine people were trying to kill faster than Brian Williams. Because when that happened, everyone had to retake all their journalistic ethics training courses. Everyone had to apply for all these like extra certifications. It's like, I am extra good at everything.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm a camera guy. Why do I have to be ethical? They're like, we need everyone to be ethical.
Yeah, no, that's
oh my God.
Like law and ethics or something like that. And we talked about that case for like.
That was nuts. And still, like, nothing happened because of it. But I mean, at least like Lester Holt, who's been like working his ass
I
off.
love
Lester Holt. He's funny. He when they do so, one of the things that we would do for NBC is the local affiliates would communicate with the New York office, and they would like do a mic check, like, hey, IFB check, can you hear me? And they're like, I can hear you. Can you hear me? And we just go back and forth and check it. One of my colleagues who used to work for New York would do something a little bit different, and he would play the Seinfeld theme for Lester Holt, and it's like, and then he would start doing air bass to the Seinfeld theme. He would start going wild. And then he would say Newman in the IFB, and Lester Holt would go, Newman!
He seems like such a fun person to like work for.
So he would do that, and then they brought that to the NBC Boston, and every time Boston does that for Lester Holt, he gets so excited. That's the only like live tease he gets excited for.
That's crazy. No, he's like, I was excited about that. Like that was one thing I was excited for, was that switch, because I like Lester Holt, and he's like cool.
Yeah, he's a really good beat reporter too. He's really good at improvising questions too. So there's a lot of like.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, and I was like, when I watch some of his interviews, like I like to watch like other reporters. Like I love Channel 7, so I watch how they, even though it's like the news and stuff.
Well, it's very 7 has a very sensationalist style. They have really, really good reporters, but everyone kind of comes from a really, really good like street reporting style. So that we had this guy on NBCN called his name is Justin Michaels, and he was just really, really good at improvising, just riffing questions just out of nowhere. Like the second he gets information, he understands it and knows exactly how to follow it up with a concise question to get more information out of it.
That's a good skill to have.
Yeah, and it just comes from practice. You just got to keep doing it, and it's you just, even like day to day, if you get a chance to just like keep pulling information out of somebody, just go for it.
I can do that like with writing. I'm really good at like that. So like last semester I had to take a news writing class, and so my professor, she would give us like, so say like an incident happened like with the Boston police, so she'd give us that information, and it wouldn't be much, but I can pull stuff out like writing wise, but we don't have many like opportunities to be able to do like on film or like in front of like a live camera or something like that. So
well, news writing is very, very tricky because you do run the risk of getting against plagiarism. So AP pretty much breaks it down as simple as they can, and then disseminates it to all the other affiliates and all the other major networks, and then it's up to the networks to either put their spin on it or to just reorganize the information to make it seem like there's something new. And a really, really dirty journalistic trick that I just absolutely despise right now is they'll just drop a bunch of like, we do not know if the suspect had a gun, we do not know if the suspect practiced this faith, or they would just like drop a lot of stuff like that at the end to say like, oh, are we gonna learn something about that? Is that what it is? And then they anticipate that's what that network is going to follow up on. But there's infinite unknowns in every single case. And right now, journalism seems to be focusing on trying to create as many unknowns as possible so that way they can have their own spin.
I just like to, I don't know yet. I feel like I have to think about what like it is that I want to do, and like, what kind of, like, because I have like my own personal morals, but then there's things where it's like, okay, this is a company that I might want to work for, so how is like working for this company gonna go with like the things that I want to accomplish and like the goals and the morals I have? So I don't know. I like to not think about the future, but I like to think about the future. So
I mean, it really depends on like what you want to do with your career. Do you want to be a moral person, or do you want to be a successful person? Because there is a way to integrate the two, but it's very, very difficult, and you don't get 100% of both worlds when you try to bring them together.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult. Like I think the best example that I can think of in terms of like news with morals right now is Vice News. wherein it's very, very surgical, it's very, very precise. It's like 60 Minutes for millennials, in the sense that it's very interesting information and stuff that you never think to dissect, and things that you never think to critique, like the government in Turkey or agricultural reform, things that no one really thinks are crucial, but you need to know about that kind of stuff. And in those instances, the reporters are given a lot of leeway in terms of they get to bring their bias into it. And it is very, very transparent. It is very, very clear that the reporters are biased, but we trust the bias in that instance. But then you get some people at like MSNBC, where they are given bias, and they are told to be more biased against certain politicians or certain phrases. There are like key words that like almost trigger them into behaving a certain way, and they're trained to do that. And that, in some instances, it helps out their career a lot. Like Megyn Kelly made a really good name for herself by being a conservative, a very, very strict conservative. Even though those principles didn't directly align with her, she understood what the conservative script was, and she understood how to behave, and she understood how her viewers would behave, and she would take those emotions into herself, and she would react in a way that she empathized, or that she would understand her viewers would behave.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
There's a way that either, so in terms of journalism, you can either bring in your own bias, or you can behave or you can act on someone else's bias.
All right, so tell us a little about getting into the communication field. Please talk about your internship experience at NACN. Your first day was a tough one.
It was a very tough one. The first day that I arrived at NACN to interview for my internship was Sandy Hook. And that was my first real exposure to being inside of a newsroom. It was a chaotic day for everybody. And there were people running around the newsroom screaming, trying to get a read on what was going on in Connecticut at the time. And they just didn't have time to interview me. They didn't have time to figure out what I was good at, what I could do, when my start date could be, because they needed somebody right then and there to start writing scripts, to start writing, to just get right into it, because they were, by the amount of information that was coming in at the time, they were dramatically understaffed. So they really needed me to just get right into it. And that's when the internship started.
Interesting. But also very sad. You went from an internship at NACN to a job. So how did that come about?
Unfortunately, it was equally tragic circumstances. I had been at NACN for a few months, and on Marathon Monday, when the bombs had hit, I was scheduled to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the internship, and I had asked that week if I could work Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, because I was in Boston at the time. I was doing a concert, and then the bombs went off. Everybody had to clear out, and I told NACN I'm going to be there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, because that's what I had agreed upon, and I wanted to impress upon them that I was very serious about the internship. And in spite of what had happened, in spite of a travel ban, in spite of no one in Boston really being able to move around, I showed up, and I was there. And the police had asked me, like, why do you need to move? Why do you need to get out of the city right now? And I told them, like, look, I'm with the press. And the police understood that. They understood the value of quality of life information, like the news, and how important disseminating correct information is. So the police appreciated that, and I was able to show up for Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they're like, can you come in on Thursday too? Because none of the other interns had shown up. So I was the only one there working 10-hour days, 4 days in a row. Weirdly enough, I had left like an hour before they caught them on Friday, because they're like, oh, we don't think we're gonna get them this week, but we love having you here. Can you start next week?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So.
That is a super cool experience. Mm-hmm. It's sad that you had to be there for tragic events, but the opportunities that came out of it were super good.
Well, that's a big part of news, is processing events like that, because there is a lot of tragedy in the world, there is a lot of heartbreak in the world, and just being willing and able to face that aspect of life, that's what being in the news is. It's covering the disastrous hurricane, it's covering a horrible event, it's covering a shooting, a bombing, an election, all types of things that happen in life. That's what the news is there for, and to show that you can roll with the punches in the most extreme circumstances. That's how you, I don't want to say that's how you get the job, because I mean, not everyone is gonna go through those same trials, but to show that you're willing to go through that, that's a big deal to the big cheese.
Thank you for sharing your NECN experience with us. So what is it that you are doing now?
So I've left the news industry and I'm working in corporate video, which is a very refreshing change of pace. I work for MassMutual right now, which is a life insurance company, and I do intercompany video correspondence. So I do training videos, I do microsites, I do product launches, social media pushes for the entire company. And it's myself and a small team of video producers and video editors. We go around, we shoot, we collect assets, we put everything together, we keep it all in-house. We do everything pretty much by ourselves.
So how do you feel, like when you were making your portfolio, like when you were leaving college and things like that, like what were some of the things that you like highlighted in your portfolio?
From a technical aspect, I tried to show every style that I could shoot in and every format that I was capable of shooting with. I had a photography portfolio that showed raw footage and edited footage. I had a claymation reel that I did. I did a couple claymation pieces in college, and I put that in with my video reel to show not only that I could do claymation, but that I have the patience to do something like that. There's a lot of alternative aspects when people are looking at your reel, not just that the content is rich, but what it takes to create that content. Like with claymation, you have to build the little clay figures. You have to shoot every single frame of it. And back when I was doing it, I was using Final Cut, so I had to line up every single frame and figure out the frame rate that the sequence was going to be playing out on to make it smooth and cohesive. I think it was 12 to 15 frames per second when I was doing claymation, something like that. And video shoots between 24 and 30 frames per second. So it took me for like a minute and a half claymation video. It took me like 6 hours to shoot the whole thing.
That's a lot of time.
So the video would show that. I tried to show as much of my editing capability as I could, whether it was editing specifically to different beats in music, or figuring out color grading and color patterns, and trying to show that I could coordinate inside of a shot, not just that I could capture something and it just happened to look good, but that I could set up a shot and frame something and have it look good. So having a big diversity in your portfolio of your photography, of your directing, of your shooting, of your editing, of your coloring, all that stuff needs to be in there.
Is there any advice that you would give someone in the communication field that's trying to maybe like get to some of the steps that you've been in, or like try to find their own beat on their path?
Absolutely. Not a lot of people are in this industry, but there are enough people in this industry to push everyone else out of the way, to make it very, very hard to get a job. If you treat everyone like a networking opportunity, if you treat everyone with the same level of respect that you would treat a CEO for a company that you would like to work for, that's going to be memorable. That's going to be very, very impactful on people, and they're going to say, wow, that person was so wonderful and they were so pleasant to be around. Oh my God, they do video, or oh my God, they do radio, or anything like that. They're going to say, I got to find a way to work with them. Or, oh my God, there's an in-house video team at my software company. I can integrate them into that. Or, I know someone at this news company. They'd be perfect for this. So just be very, very pleasant, be very, very respectful, stay relevant, stay on people's minds, and yeah, just treat the world like the community that it is, and it'll treat you in turn.
The camera wasn't.
Well, that one's still recording too. So.